Hello and welcome to Unit 102, the 16 Guilds Award in Health and Social Care at Level 1. This unit is about understanding the principles and values in health and social care for adults, children, young people, early years and childcare. The learning outcomes of this unit are: know the principles and values that underpin work in health and social care, adult and children and young people, early years and childcare, and know ways to respect and value those who access services in health and social care, adults and children, and young people, early years and childcare. The principles and values that support work in health and social care, early years and childcare. This is what you're going to learn. You're also going to learn about the guidance and standards that support work in health and social care, early years and childcare. You're also going to learn about how to respect and value service users as individuals. You'll be introduced to person-centered practice and also how confidentiality helps to respect individuals. So for the first lesson, your criteria and learning outcome that you should be able to do at the end of this lesson is to identify values and principles that underpin work in health and social care, adults and children and young people, early years and childcare. So have a go at unscrambling these important words that are relevant to the unit and to person-centered care, values and principles. You can always press pause on the video and give it a go. How many did you get? We've got confidentiality, values, principles, inclusion, respect, ACT, dignity and empathy. All very important values in health and social care. Here's a bit of an explanation as to what they mean. So we've got your principles and values. So your values are the main beliefs of an idea, of an organisation, and your principles are those that protect those values. Your guidance and standards are rules and guidelines that should be followed in any organisation. And respecting and valuing is to show care and consideration of others' people's views and opinions. Person-centered practice is about listening to a person and meeting their individual needs in a way that's best for them, not in a way that we think is best for them, or in a way that is best for the organisation. Confidentiality is about sharing information with people who only need to know it or can offer help. Self-esteem is about feeling good about yourself and having confidence. Inclusion means including everybody. Empathy is the ability to share and understand the feelings of another person because you've experienced that. ACT is by means of law, and dignity is the right of a person to be valued and respected for their own sake. It would be a good idea now to use these words to create sentences for yourself that relate to you. In that way, you get a good understanding of how important those words are and make them valuable to you. You might want to pause the video now before we move on. So what are values? Because we talk about them, we hear them, but have you ever been, explained what they are? Well, values describe what is important in a person's life. It's values that unconsciously help us to form individual rules around our behaviour. They're basically the foundation to who we are, how our attitude is, how we see things, and overall how we conduct ourselves, so our own behaviour. Any individual always uses values to make decisions about what's right and wrong, and we learn these as a child. And we've all got different values. So for instance, a person might value happiness, where another person might value courage and dedication. An individual who's got high moral values displays qualities such as honesty, integrity, courage, loyalty, fairness, respect and compassion. These people will be classified as having high moral values. And a person's values can be influenced by a wide range of factors such as background, experiences, education and religion. But it is possible for a person to change their values over the time of their life, because with our experiences we tend to choose what's right and wrong for us and what we think is important. There's a few tips on values. Your values are the things that you believe are important in the way you live and work. They should determine your priorities, and deep down, they're probably the measures that you use if your life is turning out the way you want it. When things that you do and the way you behave matches your values, life is usually good. You're satisfied and content. But when those two things don't align with your personal values, that's when things feel wrong, and that can be a source of unhappiness. So if there's something that you really value, but your behaviour is not protecting that value, then that is quite often when that conflict comes in and you feel unhappy and not quite good with yourself, and your self-esteem can be affected. So your principles, what are they? Yeah, they are basically about following rules. They are a set of rules that we need to follow to protect what we value. So they help you know what's right and wrong, and they influence your actions. They are what you stand for in life. They direct you and they act as a compass. And in other words, they manage or govern your behaviour. Although principles are collectively agreed upon by society, a person has their own individual principles as well. Lots of laws in a country are made up to protect people, like life. So laws are made up to make murder and robbery illegal, and they're based on collective principles of society and the idea that it's wrong to kill or rob somebody. So here's a couple of examples of values and principles. They are based on the value things that we value that are dear to us. For example, if a person values non-violence, he'll never get into fights with others, or she'll never get into fights with others or behave aggressively. And that behaviour is ruled by the belief that he or she will never behave aggressively or violently because they believe in non-violence. So can you see that your principles govern your behaviour and they protect what it is you value. So if you value honesty, you're never going to tell a lie, not even a white one. So here, never telling lies is your principle. Okay, you value honesty, that's your value, and your principle is never telling lies, even if it will bring some harm to you. So a person who strongly believes that lying is wrong won't move away from the truth, even if it brings any personal harm, or they lose their job, or they get a demotion, because they value so much honesty. They have a principle by which they will never tell a lie. Since these principles are sometimes like rules, they can be quite hard and not flexible, and can sometimes have quite harsh consequences. So let's look at our own values now. Write down of something that you value. As an example, not getting into debt. So there's a couple of rules that you need to follow to ensure that you don't get into debt. So maybe resisting temptation to spend when you don't have any money by not having a credit card, only buying what you can afford, budgeting every month to pay bills, and setting some money aside for an emergency like the boiler breaking down, or your car breaking down, or your phone being dropped on the floor and not working anymore. So here's some more examples. If you value thriftiness, which means getting things at a good price, you're never going to go and buy branded clothes like Gucci or Versace or etc. So if you value fairness, you'll never treat somebody unfairly. If you value honesty, you'll never lie, even if it is to prevent harm. So have a go and think of some of your own. You might want to pause the video whilst you write them down. So we've all got different principles and values that we learn from people around us. These might be in school because we have to follow rules about the way we're expected to behave in school, and also ones that we follow at home. So for an example, some families are expected to take their shoes off at the front door, but other families may think that that's not important and wear shoes or boots around the house. Both families have values and principles that are different, but they are right for them. So if another family has a set of values and principles that don't match yours, it doesn't mean to say that they're wrong. It means it's what's right for them. So let's take it to the home and write down a short list of values in your own home and principles that you have that protect it and protect them. You may want to pause the video. Okay, is there anybody at home that you can discuss your own values and principles with? Do you have any common values between you? If so, make a note of these. And sometimes you will find that you have common values with people when it comes to those in the home. We've also got values in the UK, so British values, things that are important in the UK. Every country has different values. We've got democracy, which is a culture built upon freedom and equality, where everyone is aware of their own rights. So we've got the right to vote. We've got the right to make a decision together. We have team meetings, the right to protest and petition, and receiving and giving feedback. We've got the rule of law, so the need for rules to make a happy, safe and secure environment to live and work. So examples of those are, we'll have laws, we'll have agreed ways of working, so policies and procedures, which are very relevant in care, and how the law protects you and others, because we are protected when we walk along the street. Our safety is protected and our rights are protected because there are laws and people can be prosecuted and arrested and sentenced if they are breaking them. And we have codes of conduct as well. So that's ways of behaving or ways of working to support those laws. We have respect and tolerance, and that's understanding that we don't all share the same beliefs and values. As we discussed before, we've all got different values in the home. They're different. It's what's right for them. So we need to respect other people's values, ideas and beliefs, and don't impose yours onto theirs. So we have to embrace differences and also respect the importance of religion, traditions, cultural heritage and an individual's preferences. And we've got to also tackle stereotyping, labelling, prejudice and discrimination. We've also got individual liberty, which is an important British value. So it's the protection of your rights and the right of others you work with. So we've got equality and human rights, we've got personal development, respect and dignity, rights, choice and consent, individuality, values and principles. There's also values that are very different in each country. So what you need to do now is follow the link at the top of the page and work with a member of your household or a friend or a member of the person that's the group that you're on the course with, and answer the following questions. You might wish to pause this video. Now, using the information from the research and quiz you've just completed on slide 22, I'd like you to complete a poster to inform care workers of the diverse values across the globe. Now, this is very important because when working in care, you're going to be caring for diverse communities. So everybody's going to be different, and it's really important that you respect that and are aware of what's important in different cultures. We've covered what's important in the British culture, which includes individuality, and this is part of that. If you have access to a printer, print a copy for your file. If not, save it to your desktop. So how does all this relate to health and social care? Well, working in health and social care, we need to know how important it is to follow the values and the principles of the setting that we're working in and of the sector rather than our own. Because as we've discussed before, we've all got different values and principles. There's many important values and principles in health and social care and childcare, and we really need to understand so that we work in a professional way. And it's important to make sure all children and adults using the services are well cared for. And we can do this by ensuring that we respect those values and follow those principles that protect them. So 6 important values in health and social care are what are known as the 6 C's of care. So we have care, compassion, competence, communication, courage and commitment. So care being the first, and that's having somebody's best interest at heart and doing what you can to maintain or improve their well-being. Compassion is about feeling able, being able to feel for someone, to understand them and their situation, even if we're not being in that ourselves. And competence is about understanding what someone needs and having the knowledge and skills to provide it. Communication is about listening carefully, but also being able to speak and act in a way that that person can understand. Courage is about having the courage to try out new things and also to speak out and report anything that you're concerned about, especially if it's a colleague and their conduct towards an individual. You need to find the courage. So finding the courage to try new things out and also finding the courage to shout out if a colleague is behaving in a way that is concerning. And also, lastly, you need commitment, and that's about dedicating to providing care and support, but also understanding the responsibility you have as a worker, and that leads into your duty of care. So, as part of a group, I'd like you all now to use the flip chart or the whiteboard to write down as many principles and values of health and social care as you can think of. You may want to pause the video whilst you do this. If you are working by yourself individually, then I'd like you to do this by yourself. You may want to do some research to support you. Let's have a look. Did you get any of the following? Giving people choices, meeting people's needs, communicating in a positive way, designing care and a person's needs, honesty, integrity, ensuring that the well-being of the person is the most important thing in care, showing empathy and sympathy, being trustworthy, upholding confidentiality, having courage, safeguarding children and vulnerable adults, ensuring that the well-being of the person is the most important thing in care, showing empathy and sympathy, not judging people, offering equal opportunities, and don't treat people the same. And the reason we don't treat people the same is because we're all different. If we did treat everybody the same, we wouldn't be offering equal opportunities. So, now you've explored the principles and values in health and social care, create a spidergram that presents those values that you need to work in care. And don't forget to include the 6 C's of care. So we've covered the first area of your induction guide, which is your assessment task for this unit. So you've been able to identify the principles and values that are important when working in health and social care. Just a quick recap. Values and principles are all factors that manage our character and behaviour. There are differences between each of these concepts. We're going to examine the difference between them. Values are ideas, beliefs and things that are important to a person or organisation. Principles are rules and actions that we live by in order to protect a person or organisation's values. Values are ideas, beliefs that are important to us. Principles provide a set of rules or guidance to protect a value. In addition to that, there's a set of values and principles that are very important in health and social care, which should be present on your spidergram. Now, just a short activity. Using your post-it notes, write down the principles and values that underpin health and social care and stick them on your door to remind you of what's important in care. Thank you for your time.